What's up, everybody? Happy Mother's Day. Happy Sunday. This is The Sweat on DraftKings Network and VSiN. I'm Steve Buchanan. We're here with Julian. We're here with Claudia. The crew is here once again to get you ready for everything that has to do with betting and sports betting here this morning. How are we doing, everybody? Good?
The Celtics dominated the game, and that's all the bets we talked about yesterday. So
all I asked was how you're doing. I didn't need you to brag.
He's like, no, I gotta
we
be
have
quick
all
to
show
this.
for you to do
it
that.
directly correlates to how the bets did.
So he's doing well.
He's doing well.
But
If you're going to tell me that I'm not doing well after I have a terrible Friday night and you're going to make fun of me all morning, then I'm going to tell you I'm doing well the night after.
We've heard about this horrible Friday.
He has a point. I just hope you're upgrading the flowers, right? The Mother's Day flowers, because you got all that money back. So
Right. Mom deserves some...
I'm just going to give her straight up money. It's make it easy.
I mean, as a woman, I'm going to say she would probably be happy with that.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, man, some exciting playoff games. I know we're going to go over them, some coming up. So it's a good time to like sports. I don't know what else you do if you don't watch sports.
It's a good time to like sports.
I guess
like
enjoy the weather because it's finally getting nice out. But
Kind of. I left this morning. It was 41 degrees when I left this morning.
yeah, well, whatever.
Okay.
It's sunny.
It is sunny. And it's going to be sunny all show here. Let's tell you what's coming up here on the show. We're going to talk about those NBA and NHL playoffs. So bets for today, reactions to last night. Brendan Glasheen is making his return to DraftKings. He is the voice of the Connecticut Sun. We're going to talk all about the WNBA season preview. Brendan Glasheen also makes the worst chicken known to man. And then Claudia and I will talk about some best bets for MLB as well. Go ahead.
How can you make chicken bad? Does he not cook
Have
it?
you ever been on his Twitter account? Do you follow him?
Yeah, I follow him. I don't really scroll.
He always posts...
I wouldn't scroll through his stuff either.
Yeah, but he...
not his stuff, just Twitter in general.
He always posts these like pictures of chicken that he makes, and they always look horrible. Like he burns the hell out of them. It looks like they have no flavor.
Oh, that's
If you're gonna grill, you gotta go chicken thighs. You know, like whole.
Yeah.
You know, if you grill chicken,
He literally does like the chicken.
I think we're getting it going right now. But if you're gonna grill
so
chicken
he's trying
breast,
to be healthy, and then he just
if you're gonna grill chicken breast, you know how it like just dries up if you keep it on there too long.
Yeah.
He is just the king, famous for just burnt.
Yeah.
That's
chicken
it looks like he's eating the charcoal.
we're
basically what it
getting
comes
some
down. Well, there you go.
Okay, he's catching straight.
That's not even a.
That's not even a bad.
I mean,
he can do worse than that.
The steak looks okay,
and
but
there
the
does
chicken.
look some sort of sauce on the chicken.
All right, that one's making him look good.
Right. That's actually.
All right, we'll find a bad picture of the chicken.
All right, so we've already killed like 5 minutes of this segment. Let's actually talk about some betting things. Claudia, what are you working up a sweater of this morning?
Yeah, Bruins, man. I want to see some pucks on net, and I want to see them trying to stop the pucks on net. On the other end, Jeremy Swayman needs some help. 25 to 10 shot attempts in that first period, the last game out. They've been outshot 105 to 61 in this series. Swayman has seen 275 shots so far, which is the most in the NHL playoffs. The majority of them high danger shots too. So the Bruins are a good, talented team. The unfortunate part is Swayman is for sure the best player on the team right now because Pasta's not necessarily showing up. Marshy's hurt. So the series is worrying me in general. It's heating me up a little bit, but what's really making me hot is the fact that Sway needs more help.
And not only that, but the penalty kill has been a major failure for them lately. That was something that they were doing so well to start the playoffs, and now I think 6 of the last 7 series for the Rangers, they have scored on power play. So
yeah, special teams is huge for them, especially.
Jules?
All right, well, yesterday I warmed up about some football futures, which is pretty far away. So this morning, I am going to do some WNBA, but I'm going to wait for Glash to discuss it later in the show. We'll cool down on that.
Glash has to say, sure.
So college basketball, even further away than college football, is what I'm going to go to today because we're going to talk. Screw hockey. Even though I will be viewing some hockey later, I don't even know how that sport works, but I'm going to watch it. So college hoops, the portal, all the portal movement has, for the most part, concluded. It was an insane, period of guys going into the portal and deciding where they're going to land or sticking in the NBA draft. And now that has all calmed down, I think there's some clear-cut teams that I would put at the top of the rankings for next year. Kansas already moved. It's 10-1 now to win it all. They were a good bet when they were getting some of these guys back. They're essentially getting their whole team back and bringing in 4 starter caliber players onto that team. Alabama got some of the best transfers in the country, bringing in some McDonald's All-Americans. And if Mark Sears stays, they're probably number 2 behind Kansas. They're 15-1 to win it all. And Baylor got some serious movement. I think a lot of people were surprised that Jeremy Roach, Duke senior point guard, last year would leave. He's at Baylor, among some other serious transfers and some big-time freshmen coming in. So I think it was a wild period, and now that the dust has kind of settled, we can take our first look at the college basketball season, and Kansas, Alabama, Baylor, 3 teams I'm very high on, and then UConn will probably just win it all again.
So how early are you actually laying some money down on these here? Because obviously we're far away here. Obviously you just talked about the players going into the portal and whatnot. Are you laying money now, or is there still
about 2 weeks ago is the correct answer?
Okay.
So yes, now the numbers have moved a little. You're not going to get the best of the number, but I personally have no problem locking up money for that long. It's all personal preference.
Sure.
Some people don't like it. I think, why bet? Why build this bankroll if you're not going to invest it in what you want to invest in?
Right, and it's the portfolio, right? You try to get ahead of the market, ahead of the numbers.
Of course.
We talk about UConn all last year, and there were several videos I made or several shows I went on to say, now's the time. If you want UConn, now's the time to get it, because this number is only going to get smaller, and that's, of course, what we saw. So I agree with you. I'm not 2 weeks out of making a bet. We'll see as I look at the board, but for sure, get ahead of the market now, yeah.
I think that is something that people do need to try to get over, though, because I'm kind of like you. I don't want to lock up my money. I'm not looking to place a Cy Young bet today, right, and lock that up until
that's in season.
October, November. But sure, but
this doesn't even start until November.
But of course, but what I'm saying is a lot of people have that perception. I don't want to lock up my money for so long, blah blah blah. But there are those opportunities when you can cash some of these monster plays. You did that last year with Blake Snell on the Cy Young. I did that a couple years ago with Robbie Ray. Those type of instances do happen, and then obviously when that rolls around, you get that massive payout. It's huge, but I do understand people don't want to lock up their money to potentially use on something that day or the next day or whatever.
Yeah, and I was saying this yesterday, I don't like to do that in situations where the payout's not going to be big. But
sure.
In a very simple terms, and everybody watching this probably knows, but my parents are watching, they don't know anything about betting. Hey. So with a very good team.
Happy Mother's Day, Claudia's mom.
The earlier the better, right? If it's not one specific player, when it comes to a team, the earlier the better, because you're going to get those longer odds. So I agree with you there. Ronald Acuna Jr. was one for me that I like to parade around, because I said him coming back from injury after a full season healthy, he should be great. That number skyrocketed down. So yeah, now's a good time for some college hoops, I guess.
For me, it is.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the Houston Astros a little bit here this morning. Only 2 wins separate them and the Chicago White Sox at this point. Literally, they have been one of the worst teams in the league right now. I was just curious. I said, what's the odds for them to make the playoffs and to not? For them to not make the playoffs is at minus 180 at this point.
That's it?
Already. That's it. I was actually surprised about it. I thought it was going to be a lot more. But
a lot of faith in them.
Of course. But, to be fair, the division has been not that great. I think the Texas Rangers are in first right now with 21-19 record, so just barely above 500.
Well, the A's are going to win that division. We already talked about that.
I know we already talked about that. But this kind of brings me to today. And I'm back in the Tigers today on the money line. Justin Verlander is on the mound for Houston. We have Jack Flaherty on the mound here for the Tigers. But, this is kind of the big problem with the Astros at this point, is that, they're relying upon guys like Justin Verlander, who's 41 years old at this point, to man this rotation. And he's just not that guy anymore. I was looking at some of his numbers. I hadn't really looked into him much as of yet, but looking into his numbers, he's made, I think, 6 starts at this point. His swing and miss rate at this point is at 8.7%. That is the lowest of his career from his sophomore year in the league, which is back in 2005 at this point. He has an expected ERA of approaching 5 at this point. This rotation is not going to cut it. We've already kind of heard some rumblings. Are these guys going to be sellers at the deadline? Like, who are some of these guys that they could trade off and start to kind of rebuild this team? Because this is starting to become an aging team a little bit with some of the key players here. Like Alex Bregman's getting a little bit older here. He's dropped in the lineup. I think he's batting 6 at this point. I don't think at any point in his career, except when he first came up, he never batted less than the cleanup spot at this point. So there's just a lot of things going wrong with this team right now. And I never expected to be backing like the Tigers on the money line against the Astros, in the early parts of May here. But Jack Flaherty's been great. Verlander continues to struggle. That whole rotation is struggling right now. So there's a lot to not like about the Astros, and it just really opens up things in that AL West, because this was, the team expected to come out and dominate like they have. I think it's 7 straight appearances in the American League Championship Series for the Astros. I might be wrong on that number, but it's been just incredible, the downfall of this team so quickly.
Let me say real quick, the Astros, you mentioned it's a weak division, so maybe they get in that way. They're plus 370 to win the division.
Yeah.
So odds are saying they're not going to win that division, or they're a long shot to win that division. So if that's the case, they're going to have to make it as a wild card with a poor record. It wouldn't come down to winning the poor division. So
and that's
kind of like that.
That's not going to happen, though. I don't think that's going to happen because the Central is so strong, which was not expected at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 3 teams within a game and a half of first place right now: Guardians, Twins, and Royals. So
I like that.
It's going to be tough.
This is that point in the season, though, where you ask yourself, do you want to buy the dip? Right. Is it a dip? Are they going to come back
Plus
up?
145 to make the playoffs right now.
Team? Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we're going to get into some NBA bets and action. We're going to take a quick break here on The Sweat. Julian and Claudia are going to give their best bets and reactions to yesterday and today. Welcome back to the Sweat. Steve, Julian, and Claudia here to talk about reactions to yesterday's NBA games and then looking forward to today and giving some best bets. That's what these two will do. I will just sit here and look handsome and just kind of run the ship here.
Nice of you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's start off with obviously Celtics and Cavaliers. Celtics were able to bounce back, take a 2-1 series lead, did that in a convincing fashion, 106-93. Yesterday, the Celtics were a minus 1,100 to win the series. They take a 2-1 lead. Now it's minus 8,000 to win the series. So literally, bookmakers are giving this Cavaliers team no chance, even though they put up a pretty good fight there in Game 2. Julian, reactions here. Obviously, Tatum looked good. White was looking good beyond the arc. Things were kind of clicking again for the team.
Yeah, they did what they were supposed to do, and they did what they've done off of a playoff loss over the last 3 postseasons outside of the two outliers when they were eliminated, that being the finals against Golden State, where they lost 3 in a row, and the Eastern Conference final against Miami, where they began the series by losing 3 in a row. Outside of those stretches, the Celtics off a loss in the postseason have been tremendous. Not just winning, but winning with margin, and generally their best players respond. In this case, Jason Tatum, who had been getting dogged on a little bit for not playing all that well. I thought he was playing pretty decent, but last night put his foot on the gas a little bit more and made a statement. So it's what I expected from this team. When they want to lock up on defense and give their best effort, they're going to look like this. They did not do either of those things at home in Game 2, so we'll see if they can carry that momentum. Tatum said that he challenged the team to come out, keep playing strong in the third quarter. They opened the third quarter on a 14-0 run. I would like to see them have that conversation again and bring some of that momentum into the start of Game 4 and not just settle coming off of a big win.
And just real quick, and I'll get to you, Claudia, right after. Do you think that Horford is becoming a little bit of a liability as the series goes on?
Not a liability. He's just going to look his age some games. And Horford is supposed to be a luxury for this team behind Porzingis. Yeah. And, injuries happen, and now you gotta use your luxury a little more than you want to use it, and he's going to look his age. But hopefully he falls back into his role when Porzingis gets healthy.
I was going to say, I feel like that comes back to a mindset thing, too. Especially at that age, it's like, all right, Porzingis is going to take this postseason. Of course, he knew he was going to get some time, but didn't think he'd be shouldering that much responsibility. So, yeah, I agree with Julian. I don't think it's an issue to this point, but it definitely would help to have Porzingis. And I agree on the other note, too, that it's not surprising. They should have won this game. They should probably sweep this game. Outside of the one-star player for Cleveland, it's sort of all role players coming up and showing up. And I'm glad that you said that about Tatum, because we, as fans, I guess, have been very vocal about wanting to hear more from Tatum. And then you see Tatum and Brown come out and score all 27 third-quarter points. That duo, we need to see more of that. Derek White, you talked about coming up big, just 12 in this game, but then you had Drew Holiday, who dropped 18, 8, and 5. He's been relatively quiet. So as we set up to this point, the Celtics have all the pieces. They should get through this series. In terms of trying to find value, good luck. Maybe in game at some point again, if they fall behind, you can try and get that juice to come down. But I'm looking at the series spreads even right now. Celtics minus 2.5 games, minus 225. The only value you're really going to find is with the Cavs if you believe in them to some degree, or you just go props, or like I said, live in-game betting. Mavericks eked out a win versus the Thunder there yesterday as well, 105-101. Now have the 2-1 series lead. Is the story here, Claudia, that P.J. Washington is just not getting enough attention? Just been going off offensively here with all the focus on Kyrie and for Luka. Has that been a big reason why the Thunder are kind of in trouble now? Yeah, I mean, I just think that nobody expected him to be this consistent, so I don't fault the defense necessarily for not hounding him, because they have 2 other guys they should probably be focusing on more, in Kyrie and Luka. That's great for the Mavs, though, to have PJ stepping up like that, especially when Luka now dealing not only with the bad right knee, he has the left ankle and now a back, because he came down hard in that game. I don't know what else can happen to him for him to get banged up, but clearly it doesn't really matter, because 22 points, still 15 rebounds on the game. I like, too, that he's realizing he doesn't have to, and almost sometimes it seems better for him not to drop 30, drop 40 points, and shoulder all of the responsibility. If he can become a little bit more of a facilitator, go for those boards a little bit more, contribute on defense, that leads to a better team win. Kyrie making big plays down the stretch. So I think when it comes down to it, the Thunder are such a talented team, but SGA needs help, man. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks, a steal. But it doesn't matter. Only 3 of their guys were in double digits and just barely. Chet only 13, Jalen Williams 16. SGA needs help. As talented as they are, they overexceeded expectations. It's great that they got to this point, but they might just be too young at this point.
Yeah, real quick, Julian. Kyrie, 14 of his 22 points in the final 15 minutes of that game.
Yeah, credit to Kyrie Irving. I've given it to him on this show consistently for kind of finding his place, finding his role. He's gotten a lot of criticism over the years and is, nowhere is he more disliked probably than right where we are sitting in Boston. But he's playing second fiddle to Luka. He's keeping his mouth shut. He's being really positive, and it's translating to the court. He's playing defense, and when he's open or when he needs to, he's obviously capable of scoring the ball. So Dallas is playing really well. I like them in this series. I've liked them all along, and I think it does come down to Claudia's point. OKC's just really young. They haven't been there before. They have an MVP candidate, but the rest of the guys just need to be polished a little more before this team can make a real postseason run.
It's been interesting to see Kyrie to sort of change how he speaks. When he does open his mouth, as you said, he's like, hey man, I still got criticism. Like, yeah, you're saying I've been clutch, but coach says I probably should have showed up earlier. And I think that just makes him more likable as a player too. All
right, let's talk about the 2 games that we have going today. We have Knicks at Pacers. Pacers are 5.5 point favorites in that one. Nuggets at Timberwolves. Timberwolves are short 2.5 point favorites in that one. Let's start with that Denver Timberwolves game here. Julian, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, we talked about how tough this series was yesterday, and this is probably going to be a pass game for me. The market seems to like Denver. They're down to, 2.5?
2.5.
Betting splits-wise, if you go on vsin.com, 56% of the bets for 89% of the handle on Denver on the spread, 63% of the bets for 75% of the handles, the money line for Denver. Bettors are backing Denver in this game. Is it going to be 4 straight road wins? Is Denver back? They looked really good the other night. I would expect a response from Minnesota. That's why I kind of lean towards Minnesota first half yesterday, but I think this is the tougher of the 2 games today by far.
What do you think?
Yeah, this is just such a tough series to attack. If anything, I try to go towards the player prop market to look at what lines have maybe over-adjusted or under-adjusted. I just feel like these lines might be a little bit too low on Anthony Edwards for his combo points, rebounds, assists, 39 in the hook. We know he can drop that alone in points, 43 points alone in game 1 of this series, cash this combo in 3 of 4 in the last series. And then the Joker, the rebounds, the boards have been huge for him, 14, 16, and 8. You can get 13 in the hook. I know it's high, but you're getting the decent payout at plus 114. And then combo, maybe points plus rebounds, 41 in the hook, around even money. I think those are 2 fair plays.
All right, we got the Knicks and Pacers in this one. If the Knicks win this one, they take the 3-1 series lead at this point. Claudia, do you think that is the case, or do the Pacers tie this up?
Yeah, so open 6, we're seeing 5.5 pretty much across the board. This is another series where I don't know. Like, the Pacers, I don't think are that good. They're just deep, and they can go to a lot of guys, so I think they're kind of tough to defend. But I think the Knicks at any plus money are a live dog for sure. I think the fact that they only lost 1 game and it was by 5 points, and that was with a huge disparity in the point, 56-40. I think if they can just clean that up, they can definitely cover here.
Knicks, I like the Knicks getting the 5.5 points. They hung in game 3 very well in Indy, and really almost had no business being in that game at points outside of Dante DiVincenzo, keeping them in it from downtown. I think they'll look better in this one. I think that Tyrese Halliburton is truly dinged up. We talked about it briefly on the show yesterday. He could barely walk off the podium, like limping down after his post-game presser. Obviously, he's going to be in a little bit better shape this afternoon, but quick turnaround from a Friday night to a Sunday afternoon game. Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks, whether they get the game outright or not, I'm not sure, but getting it anything 5.5 or better is a good place to be.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that number came down. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they saw some more money too.
Halliburton's on the injury report too, so that's when it ticked down a half point. And I expect him to be ruled in if and when that happens. maybe get a better number on
Yeah,
those.
keep an eye on that. DiVincenzo, you mentioned, I was curious to see what his line was. 23 in the hook, around even money. 4.5 threes at plus 120, which does seem so high, but he's gone 7 from 11 from the 3, 6 for 12, and 5
23 and a half points for DiVincenzo.
Yeah, man. 35,
Under.
28, 25.
I'll play under.
Regression to the means, right. Like, be careful of playing into recency bias. The books do want you to bet the over here, for sure.
So I know I'm quickly, we only have a few seconds here,
Yep.
but you were a little concerned about the Denver T-Wolves series. You were kind of, not so much on the Knicks Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Are these good live betting opportunities for you guys, for either of these, if you're not too sure in the beginning here?
For sure. I mean, especially if you can get the Knicks at more plus money if they go down early.
Yep.
Like I've been saying, they got that dog, so they come back big.
Jules?
I'm just looking at Dante DiVincenzo's game log, to be
Okay,
honest.
thanks a lot.
29
Dude,
points
that's
in
what
the
I'm
series.
saying.
He's played 44 minutes in each game.
Crazy.
He averaged 15 points a game this season. I'll play under 23 and a half.
Okay, glad you got to spit that out there.
Thanks.
Coming up next, Claudia and I are going to go into the MLB Bettors Box, give you some best bets for MLB today. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Sweat. Steve and Claudia here to give you some best bets for Major League Baseball this afternoon. I know there's a lot of playoffs going on, but it's still good to bet.
Hey man, I'm always ready for baseball. I'm just saying college basketball and football feels like pushing it. Sorry, Julian, but no.
That's why we kicked him off this segment. We do not need his opinions for this segment here. We are going to talk some Major League Baseball, though, and let's start off with, it is a holiday today.
It is?
It is Mother's Day.
Yes.
It is also Alek Manoah Day.
Yeah.
Yesterday might have been Paul Skeens Day. This is Alek Manoah Day. This is when you pick on, this is when you bully someone. Now, bullying is not...
Hey man, he has a mom too.
I know, but you know what? I'm sure even his mother is disappointed with the way that he pitches at this point. Going against the Twins here today. Now, Manoah finally made his debut the other week. It's been a week against the Nationals. Big shock, didn't go well.
No.
And I assume that's kind of why you are taking the Twins on the money line here this afternoon.
Yeah, did not go well as in 6 earned on 6 hits, 2 homers, 4 walks in 4 innings. So, yeah. Maybe he'll try to show up for his mom today, but either way, I think you're getting a good price. It's open around 130 for the Twins. I know we're seeing around 140 at DraftKings. So, I still think that the Twins could see some more money here because not necessarily of them, but because of the matchup. Twins have been all right, but this really is on Manoah and the help he's going to get, which is not much because his bullpen has the highest bullpen ERA over 5. The offense scoring the 4th fewest runs, 6th fewest hits. Bottom half and WOBA, WRC plus, all those fun advanced stats. So this is more of a fade, if anything, of the Blue Jays than a backing of the Twins, but I'll still take it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit different direction.
Okay.
I am going to take the Twins to go over 4.5 runs. Nice. So you mentioned the line that Manoah had in his last start there. If you go back all the way to last year, he's made 19 starts since the beginning of last year. He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in 11 of those starts. So from what we saw in that last start that he made this year, it seems like the answer to Manoah's issues is they're getting away from the fastball. So instead, he used a sinker, and that was his primary pitch in that start against the Nationals. Well, guess what? The Twins are hitting .278 against a sinker already this season. So if this is like what is going to solve Manoah's issues, I have some news for you. The Twins hit this pitch well, and obviously the Nationals did as well because of that line that Claudia just gave us a minute ago in his season debut, I'll say. So give me the Twins over 4.5 runs. You're going to take them on the money line.
Another way you could bet this if you want to fade him is hits over 4.5 around even money. I think that's a fair play too. I wanted to look to outs, but they don't have him up. They only have over. So a few
they won't put him up. They won't put him up.
I know they won't.
No,
they
won't. Come on, DraftKings, stop being cowards. Put the outs on recorded. If you had to make the line yourself, what would you make the outs recorded?
I'm trying to see what they have Bailey at right now.
I would say 14 and a half.
I was going to say 15 and a half, but maybe 14 and a half. They're going to him knowing that he's not playing well right now. So I just don't think they'd pull him that early. This is not the craziest offense to go up against either. Right. I do have faith in them, but I feel like 15 and a half would probably be the number they put it at, and then it would be bet under. So.
Of course. All right, so you're fading Manoah. You're also fading Kyle Hendricks today from the Cubs going against the Pirates. Real quick, real quick thoughts on Paul Skeens yesterday?
Again, no surprise. That's what we expected. We have seen a few debuts to where they did not meet expectations, but he looked great. He looked comfortable. I think it's going to be, as long as he can stay healthy. I don't know if we've checked that futures yet on the strikeouts, but that's probably already been pushed up from 109 in the hook.
Oh, I would
but
guess,
man, he looks good. He's going to be huge for that rotation.
Okay, so we're fading the Alek Manoah. You're also fading Kyle Hendricks.
Yep. And so a few different ways you can bet this too. I didn't see the outs either, but I lean under. But hits allowed over 4 in the hook at plus 105. Earned runs only over 2.5. That's plus 130. I like that. 12 ERA, which I know we don't have a huge sample size, so don't buy too much into that. But if you look at the advanced stats, yes, expected ERA closer to 7. Positive regression is coming. But he's getting hit hard. He's giving up a high volume of hits. And you might not like the Pirates offense, but they got 10 runs yesterday. Miami, who he faced, has the 2nd worst WRC plus, and they got 4 runs on 6 hits against him in just 4 innings in his last start. So I think there's a few different ways you can bet this. He's been here for a while, man, 34 years old. He did well. He's not doing so well now. I know fans of this squad aren't very happy. He was supposed to have another rehab start. They didn't do that. They're having him come up here with some injury issues on the other side of things. So I'm just going to fade him any way I can, really. Lots of plus money, so I'll take it.
And not only that, too, but like throughout his career, Hendricks has had really bad numbers against lefties in particular. The Pirates can go pretty heavy on lefties, too, as well. We saw that a couple days ago when they went up against Javier Assad. We saw Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, Rowdy Tellez, Jack Sawinski, and Yasmani Grandal all come back from the left side there. So you're talking about 5 lefties potentially in that lineup today against Kyle Hendricks, which puts them in a good spot there. One bet I also like today is taking the Guardians to go over 4.5 runs. I like a lot of team totals here today, but I like them to go over 4.5 runs against the White Sox, who are red hot, by the way. 4 wins in a row. 4 wins in a row for the White Sox. But Mike Soroka is going to be the man that's going to end that winning streak for the White Sox here today, going against the Guardians for the second time this season. In that previous start, 4 runs allowed on 4 hits, 3 walks. That was just in 3 2/3 innings. Soroka is not someone who goes deep into games at all. He's only exceeded 5 innings once already this season. Both sides of the plate hitting really hard against Soroka as well. 375 WOBA against lefties, 369 WOBA against righties. So no real good spot here for him against this Guardians team at all. What else are we looking at here today?
Gave up 6 homers last month, too. So
he did.
I'm with you on that play. I'm looking at Nats Red Sox. Mackenzie Gore against Bayo. I'm going to look to Gore over on the strikeouts. 6 in the hook around even money. This is close to -120 at other shops, so make sure you shop at DraftKings Sportsbook. Yes, you're going to look at his game log and say, but Claudia, he's only hit this twice. I understand, but this is important with the lineup of Boston. They have the 3rd highest K rate overall, but the highest against lefties at 29.5%. His K rate, top 20% of pitchers. He's limiting hard contact. He's been fine with runs and walks. He hasn't been going deep, so I do understand if there's hesitation there. I get it, but he's coming off of getting 4 in just 3 against Toronto, had 7 against Texas and 5, so I think it's a good number for him, especially at this price.
No, I mean, coming over to the National, I think he came from the Padres, I think, a couple of years ago. But he was one of their top prospects, and he's been extremely hit or miss at the major league level, but the strikeout totals have been there, at least for him. So I do like that call on you there. The Red Sox have been sliding a bit after probably playing above expectations. I think a lot of people are expecting this team to be, I mean, they opened up, I don't know if you recall, they opened up with an 80.5 win total. This was bet all the way down to 76.5. And if anybody who has the under, little worried at this point that they're playing basically 500 ball, but they've definitely been sliding a little bit lately.
Yeah, and that point too, which I have to check, but they had the best team ERA in baseball for a while.
Absurd.
And dealing with all of these injuries, that is worrying for people who do have the under, because you wonder sort of what they can scrap together. And we know this lineup can be super hit or miss. They can have stretches where they are red hot and then they go quiet, real cold. So the Red Sox team is tough. A lot of the times, though, they are consistent when it comes to strikeouts. We saw this last season as well. So that's usually the edge I try to find against opposing pitchers.
One player prop that I like in the, for today as well is Corey Seager to draw a walk. And these are pretty interesting because you usually get some pretty good plus money on these type of bets here to draw a walk, whatnot. That is at plus 195 for Seager to draw a walk. And I'm kind of surprised about this line because he's going up against Dakota Hudson in Coors Field. So obviously when you think of Coors Field, you're not thinking about walks, you're thinking about home runs, you're thinking about doubles and such like that. But Dakota Hudson has really had next to little command so far this year, really struggling in that aspect. 5.8 walks per 9 inning so far this season. He's already walked 22 hitters in 34 innings. He has more walks than strikeouts already this season. That's never a good sign, but it's a good sign if you're betting somebody to draw a walk against him here. So Seager is someone who obviously is always getting on base. You saw the absurd numbers that he put up last year, but he has a walk rate just under 10% so far this season. So while it's not the most fun bet, watching someone to try to draw a walk, getting almost 2-to-1 odds on Seager, who does draw walks a lot, against a pitcher who cannot really control his command at this point. I like that play a lot.
And I'm looking at his Baseball Savant page right now, and if you haven't been to Baseball Savant, love it for pitchers, by the way. So basically you have the blue, which means bad, the red means good.
Yes.
Everything is in the blue except for the ground ball, so he induces ground balls. That's great, man. Around top 5%, so that is good. But K rate bottom 5%. Walk rate around bottom 10%. Not getting guys to chase, bottom 9%. Fastball velo's not there. literally, like I said, everything's in blue. So
right.
I'm with you on fading him. I did just check on the Red Sox, still have the best team ERA in baseball. So that's impressive to them. Looking at that division as well with the Orioles, that's a team that I know I talked about them a lot during the preseason. And I said, don't expect this team to fall crazy. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to fall, regress to the means, all that. But they're such a young, talented core that has been relatively consistent. So I like to look to them at certain spots throughout the season as well.
No, without a doubt, too. And there's so many good races in the just all of baseball right now. Like Yankees and Orioles, I think it's going to be back and forth, too. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Okay, those are your best bets for MLB here today. We're going to get into some WNBA talk with Brendan Glasheen. You can trust his analysis on the WNBA, but you can't trust this man to make you dinner or any type of food. Would you trust that chicken coming to your dinner plate? I don't think so. But we are going to hear Glash talk about the WNBA. That's coming up next. Oh, my God. Get that off the screen. That's horrendous.
Yeah.
Welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. Guess what? I have some fantastic news. The WNBA regular season, it tips on Tuesday. That's 2 days from now. So we've brought in the man, the myth, the eyebrow legend, Brendan Glasheen, the voice of the Connecticut Sun, here to break it all down. Good to see you.
You too.
Welcome home.
Thanks. I didn't expect you to go there with the eyebrow thing.
Well, that's how a lot of people here know you. And it took 4 years to get you back in studio because your eyebrows have finally grown back. But I have you here to talk basketball, women's basketball. Hell of a way to open up the season for your son. You're bringing in Caitlin Clark. You're bringing in the Indiana Fever. How much does Indiana improve this year? Because they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. Everyone thinking they're going to be the best team in the world now that Caitlin Clark's on there. And then you have Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, Aaliyah Boston's a great pairing for her in the pick and roll game. I'm curious to watch how Caitlin, as dynamic of a scorer as she is she going to be more passive and want to get her teammates involved and prove that she is in it for the long haul? They have a tough stretch to open the year, as you said, at Connecticut. And they play New York twice, who was a representative in the finals. They get Vegas in their 6th or 7th game of the year. So it's going to be tough early. It's a 12-team league, 140 best women's basketball players in the world, and she's one of them. But they won 13 last year, and they hung in there in some tight games against some of these top teams. So I think their win total, I saw 20, 21 and a half.
Yeah, 21 and a half, which is interesting because they haven't hit 22 wins in more than a decade. Hell, they've never won 22 games, more than 22 games in a season, for crying out loud.
So does Caitlin Clark make them 7-8 games better? I think so. They should be in the mix, but they think she's going to be about 500. I think it could take some time in the early going, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
I mean, odds makers obviously have higher expectations for the team. They have ridiculously high expectations for Caitlin Clark. Her rookie season in the WNBA currently has the 4th best MVP odds. How do you feel about that?
So the 3 finalists last year are all forwards, post players. Asia Wilson, Alyssa Thomas, and Breanna Stewart. So ironically enough, I think Aaliyah Boston, Alyssa Smith, they have to shut down some of those posts when they play head-to-head for Caitlin Clark to have a path. Like I said before, she's an elite passer. 8 assists a game at Iowa to lead the country.
Dish and dimes, dude.
She's playing with, by far, more elite talent. So she doesn't have to carry that scoring burden every single night, which MVPs aren't all about scoring, but that is a tall task. And historically, an award that's been given to post players.
Yeah.
There are some elite guards. She would have to average, probably lead the league in scoring, lead the league in assists, and they would have to make an increase in wins for her to be in the discussion.
And it's interesting when you bring up the post player point there. She's looking to join Candace Parker, recently retired, as the only players in WNBA history to win Rookie of the Year, which she's the extreme heavy favorite in that category, and MVP award in the same season. If anyone can do it, can Caitlin Clark do it?
Candace had that transition out of Tennessee and made an instant leap to the next level because she was just a do-it-all player. Now, Candace has the height advantage, could be a point forward, also score in the post, and Caitlin did demonstrate some finishing ability. So I think it's a pretty big ask to win an MVP in year one, but the Rookie of the Year, I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah. How do you expect her to kind of take that transition head on? Are there going to be some growing pains in there?
For sure. Like I said, that beginning of the year schedule is a gauntlet. You got to play 3 of the top finishers in the league last year.
And I
New
feel
York
like veterans
twice,
are going to be
Connecticut.
targeting her.
Yeah.
They're going to be bullying her a little bit.
When she was in the preseason, she got separation to get her shot off. And like I said, to have 2 elite bigs in Boston and Alyssa Smith, they can run pick and roll. She's going to be elated that she's got NBA caliber talent, players that have already been in the league for a handful of years. Kelsey Mitchell's also a player for them, was a top scorer in the NCAA when she was at Ohio State, can alleviate some of that tension for Caitlin Clark. But these first couple of opponents, I'm fascinated to see how she adjusts on the fly.
I mean, the hype train is real. Just ticket prices to her WNBA debut again against your son on Tuesday are far higher than the league is used to. So average ticket costing around $150 for that game. So the WNBA also has announced that these teams are going to be able to charter flights now. So
massive.
Yeah, it's huge. Imagine like Caitlin Clark, like little layover in, I don't know, Lincoln, Nebraska, and just getting swarmed by everybody in an airport. Like, how much credit does she deserve for the growth in popularity? And she hasn't even played a regular season game yet.
I think Clark, Angel Reese, Cardoso, Cameron Brink, all these recent stars that just came out, Aaliyah Edwards, the league's revenue has actually been growing since 2019. But this is like the cherry on top. Let's make this move now. Caitlin has the shoe deal with Nike, as we are all aware of. Recently, we're going to find out in the next year or so what the new TV rights deal is going to look like. This is all to set up for that. So it was a home run move by the league. As you said, player safety is important here.
Yeah.
Health and recovery after a game if you're on a road trip.
Oh, man.
Like Indiana's going to Seattle and Los Angeles early in the year.
Yeah. Imagine Caitlin Clark getting on just a regular, I don't know, Spirit flight or something, and she's in the middle seat in the back of the plane against it, like between two ginormous dudes.
All of it, like security lines, and then like there's a time and place I think for that.
You got to get pre-checked, man. You got to get pre-checked.
Which again, it's a great thing that fans are interested, but you also have to protect the players, and the health and recovery is just going to allow for more elite basketball.
Yeah. Speaking of elite basketball, I mean, the team that you cover, the team you call games for here, the Connecticut Sun, not a whole lot of headline-grabbing moves in the offseason, but they kept this core together here. Where will they rank among the league's best teams?
I think they saw third best title favorites. Nothing sexy in the offseason, but Bree Jones is back from an Achilles. Alyssa Thomas was an MVP candidate. DeWanna Bonner had one of her best scoring seasons in a number of years now. They've added some nice pieces to their bench. They're going to be a tough out, but exactly how you said it, they are kind of, they've embraced an underdog, little engine that could. People count us out. The attentions with Clark in Indiana, Reese in Chicago, Aces, Liberty in the finals last year. It's kind of exactly that wheelhouse Connecticut wants to be in.
What have your conversations been like with players, like leading up to the regular season, during the offseason, and with coach and the staff? Do they feel disrespected in a way?
CT and disrespect. CT, Connecticut. That was like one of their former slogans.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely.
But they do. They do feel that they are being sort of counted out. And Alyssa Thomas, for my money, should have been the MVP of the league last year.
Yeah.
And Brianna Stewart making a big splash going to New York. And Asia Wilson winning championships. And she was a great player at South Carolina. They always seem to be second fiddle to the rest of the league. And more so this year when you bring in this influx of talent from the college level, they do feel a sense of being counted out and disrespected and are not on people's radar. But they are right. They are in it, and I think the odds are appropriate for them to be right in the mix with Las Vegas and New York.
Exactly, because Las Vegas and New York, the two teams who met in the championship game last year, are the only two teams with shorter championship odds. And you have the Liberty, who will be aiming to defend their Eastern Conference title this season. What do they need to do in order to repeat last year's success here?
Yeah, I think having a year now of Stewart, Jonquel Jones, who was in Connecticut previously, Courtney Vandersloot, Sabrina Ionescu, to have that core play one full season together and then have an offseason where they know that entire core is coming back is huge. I think one concern for them, and this is a concern across the league, was just depth and being healthy and front court depth, and that's why I think the charter flights are huge for a team like that, because their front court depth's a little shaky. Stewart was not herself and up to her standards in the finals.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal. You want to get over the top and win a championship. New York's never won a championship. So Stewart is that piece to take them over the top. She was not great in those finals. They do have the talent. They are skilled. It's a matter of staying healthy and then being their best at the end of those close games. Got a little tight, not really sure where the ball's supposed to go because that's a lot of mouths to feed. And we'll talk about Vegas later, but they've figured that out and how to maneuver those pieces of the puzzle.
That's a great tease because this is the Eastern Conference preview. We do have the Western Conference preview coming up with you later in this show. Just going back to Angel Reese real quick. So she's doing her thing now in the Windy City, but man, fellow rookie teammate Camila Cardoso, third overall pick in this year's draft, set to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think, with a shoulder injury. I mean, how big of a blow is that for that team that had really high hopes after this draft?
I think most teams in the league, the way they build their teams, historically in the WNBA for the 25-plus years, is you got to get 2 elite post players and then build it from within. So I like what Chicago did. Now, when they get her back, how do they figure out how to make her and Reese work together? I would also call out that Chicago's got an elite shooter in Marina Mabry, who's a knockdown threat, played at Notre Dame, and then watch out for Dana Evans in their backcourt to set them up. But Reese is a soft finisher around the rim. She's going to get a lot of touches early, but now that's going to generate some attention on her without Cardoso in the lineup.
All right, so very quickly here, we have a minute to go in this segment. Who are you taking to win the East? It's the Liberty again, or you think your girls there in Connecticut can get it done?
Connecticut pushed them.
Let's
It
go.
was a short 4-game series last year. They won 1 game. The games were close. Health matters. If New York is fully loaded, they've already had a year together. getting a taste of what it felt like to get to that final stage and come up a little bit short. But I really like what Connecticut did to their depth. They're going to be right there at the end, I think.
All right.
And then we'll see with Indiana. They get in, and their first-round matchup. That's going to be must-watch. Iowa is a dog, got the 2 Final Fours, championship game. We'll see.
People are going to be eyeing them. People are going to be eyeing the Aces, who are even money to win the title again. So hang out. Let's poke over to the Western Conference coming up because I have more questions for you. For now, let's take a break because we're going to talk some NBA coming up. 2 Game 4s on tap today. Which bets tickle our fancy after this?
Back on hour number 2 here on The Sweat. Steve, Julian, Claudia, one more hour of bets in all things sports we're going to be talking about, so make sure stay tuned here. We got some more WNBA talk. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA as well, but we're going to do something we call big deal or no deal. And we're not talking about weight. We're talking about things in sports we think is a big deal or not.
Got it.
So, you ready for
easy.
this? It feels easy. It's going to be like a little bit of a pop quiz. We're going to put you on the spot here a little bit here. But let's start off with what happened yesterday with the Atlanta Braves and the Mets. They were one single out away from earning their first no-hitter since 1994. What were you doing in 1994?
Was in my actually not even a thought in the world.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say my
See, I
mom
knew that
but I
answer was
wasn't.
coming. I knew that.
I was 8 years old, so
Yeah.
I was in 4th grade maybe? 4th grade maybe?
I was 7.
You were 7, oh, young lad. One out away, JD Martinez off of Raisel Iglesias hits a solo home run to break that up there. But the caveat to this here was obviously Iglesias did not start this game. It was started by Max Fried. He was way over 100 pitches in the 7th inning, so they have to take him out. Are combined no-hitters a big deal or no big deal? What do you think?
I'm going to say big deal because I just looked this up. So 320 no-hitters through history as of July 8th. So obviously this one is added on there. But of those, only 20 of them were combined efforts, which surprised me. I thought it might be the other way around. But yeah, so I do think this is pretty impressive, guys.
All right, first of all, apparently this is the 3rd time since 2015 that the Braves have lost a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th inning. That's insanely impressive. I would say that's a big deal.
Yes.
However, the combined no-hitters, no deal. I'm out on them.
I'm with you.
I gotta be old. I gotta be old school on this. This is, as you just said, not a thought in this world in 1994. The young generation. Combined no hitters. Cool. Nope. We're gonna be old, angry men at this desk, me and Steve. You gotta be a starting pitcher. Go out. Oh, you haven't given up a hit yet. Why would we take you out of the game? I'm going to keep pitching until something bad happens, and they don't let them do that anymore. Go out, pitch the whole game, and don't give up any hits. Now it's a big deal.
The question was not, is it soft to pull out a pitcher who's going to
Well, that's where I'm taking it.
The question was not, is it more impressive, one or the other. It was just, is it a big deal? I mean, it is.
Back in
we
my
don't see
day.
it every day.
I mean, to be fair, if I'm the Braves and I have a shaky rotation to begin with no Spencer Strider, I know you know about that.
Yeah.
But Max Fried's already had 109 pitches. I do not need Max Fried to go out there again to pitch to maybe get a no-hitter. Because at the end of the day, what does that do for the club?
Right.
Does it earn them an extra win? Do they get like an extra game ahead of the team behind them? No. It does nothing, but it's for bragging rights and for stats. Right move, you take Fried out. Unfortunately, Iglesias was not able to hold the no-hitter. One out left. It was not the wrong move. They still won. You don't get anything extra if you get a no-hitter. Okay.
Brownie points.
Exactly, brownie points. Hey, great job. You get the game ball. Let's talk about this because all the attention in that Pirates-Cubs game was on Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Not too much on his girlfriend, thankfully. We don't need another Brittany Mahomes in another sport. Because I fear that's what that's going to turn into. But one thing that was amazing that happened in that game, the Pirates issued 6 walks, but that was with the bases loaded in one single inning. That is absolutely absurd. And then not only that, you would think if you're reading that, wow, the Pirates must have lost this game. They did not. The Pirates still won this game even after issuing 6 bases loaded walks. Is this one of the most asinine things, Claudia, you have seen in Major League Baseball in a long time?
It's awful. Well, how does that even happen? I mean, that's miserably crumbling under pressure. But it's like, oh my God, it's so bad, which is weird too, because if you look at their stats, like they're an average bullpen.
Exactly,
they're fine.
right.
Top 10 FIP even with that game in there. So it happens. It's baseball. They're playing every day. We get it. But to that extent, how can you be that bad? It's shocking, but in the end, I guess it didn't really matter. Right.
And then, Julian, you brought this up, the first 5 bet for that game.
Yeah. The Pirates gave up those 6 runs in the 5th inning and then won the first 5 on a Yasmani Grandal 3-run home run in the bottom of the 5th. I'm going to say this is no deal here because they won the game. If we're going to loop back to it on the Braves and say they won the game, then we got to be consistent. They won the game. It's not a big deal. But what it also ties into is this was in the 5th inning. Paul Skeens pitched 4 innings and then was pulled. Let the dudes pitch. If you pitch them the 5th inning, guess what? You're not going to walk 6 guys into home plate and give up 6 runs. Let your good pitchers pitch. If you pitch them the 5th inning, nice clean inning probably, most likely not walking in 6 runs.
We are so grateful that you are not the main baseball guy on this show. We do not need you to be the main baseball guy.
Sounds like you should be a manager to me. I don't know.
A manager that burns his team to the ground. So we have some football stuff going on. A lot of talk about what Drake May had in his pockets. I guess that was a topic of discussion. But Gerard Mayo was more focused on something else.
Early impressions of Drake, look, I mean, he has a lot to work on. But I have no doubt that he'll put the time in. So, I know you guys saw him out, or you didn't see him out here yesterday, but, he was here all night trying to get, on the same page as everyone else. So, it just comes down to time. I mean, that's the biggest hurdle. And then, you work under some of these phase 2, phase 3 rules where you don't have as much time as you want to, so you can't have those conversations. But look, it's all about, hard work works. We talk about it all the time, and he's working hard. So day one is kind of hard. It's kind of hard to really say, this guy did X, Y, and Z.
Now, we have gone from Bill Belichick giving next to nothing in press conferences for years and years, and now we go to Gerard Mayo, who's basically felt like he was outing his quarterback right off the jump. Real quick before I get to your answers, did you like the Drake May pick first and foremost for the Patriots?
I wasn't surprised at it. They needed that position. He seemed to be the best graded available at that position. I'm a little nervous about it, but I feel a lot better about this year than I did last year. I can't remember if you were on that.
If they think he's a franchise quarterback or any franchise quarterback is available at 3, you take them. If you don't think that, you move back. That's the only thing that I care about. So if they think he's a franchise quarterback, then I like the pick.
Now, are you concerned about the comments from Gerard Mayo after day 1?
I mean, I'm not concerned. I'm almost happier that he was that transparent with it and that the bar is not set crazy high, because the good thing is he does have time, and they brought in Jacoby Brissett for that reason. And I think now that Belichick is out of the building but still vocal, which is really interesting in this media era, we all directly look to him for the feedback on what he's seen from May's tape. And of course, the footwork came up, the leaving the pocket too early came up. And those, to me, are fixable. We know that he has the arm. We know he has the strength. He seems very happy and positive, and the energy is there, which wasn't always for Mac, and I think that deteriorated as the seasons went on. But with May specifically, a lot of people are concerned that they're not putting the right pieces around him. And again, they checked the boxes. They got him a receiver. They got him some protection. Left tackle, still an issue with this team. But when it comes down to it, Drake May didn't have help at UNC either, okay? He led his team in rushing in that second year, third year second in rushing. I'm not going to name any of the receivers because he didn't really have anybody. So compared to what Mac Jones had at Bama, this is a very different situation. So I did feel good about the pick. I think it's great that he does have time to work on these small things, but when it comes down to it, they're going to trust him to throw the ball downfield, and that's what they're going to need.
Is this going to be an overreaction because Patriots fans have been basically accustomed to getting little to no information in these press conferences? Now we get the complete opposite with Mayo right off the jump.
Yeah, I appreciate the information, and I also don't think it's a big deal because you drafted a young quarterback at number 3, and generally these guys aren't ready, and the roster that you're putting him around proved last season. While they made some upgrades during the offseason, they proved last season that this roster isn't capable of performing well around a quarterback. So there's a lot of reasons that Drake May shouldn't be ready to be at his best and perform. He was the youngest of the quarterbacks coming in, and he's going to take some time to learn. So I think this is normal, natural.
Thunder down 2-1 in this series against the Dallas Mavericks here. Julian, is this the time to panic for the Thunder, who have obviously been so good defensively? They're plus 175 to win this series now.
Yeah, I don't think it's time for them to panic. If they lose Game 4, you're probably hitting the panic button. But they still have time in this series, just like Dallas shouldn't be panicking when they lose the first game of the series, just like they did to the Clippers. They've come back. Now they have a 2-1 lead. We'll see what OKC can do here. But I don't think home court advantage is too big in this series. I think either team is very capable of winning on the road. And I wouldn't be overly concerned if you're OKC until you're on the verge of elimination.
Agreed on that sense of it. I think the games are going to be close, but I do think it's a big deal for what I mentioned earlier on the fact that SGA just needs help. You know, if you're looking at what they've done so far in the postseason, he's averaging almost 30 points a game, tied with Chet in rebounds, leading in assists, the steals are there, and then you just have Jalen Williams and Chet, and that's really pretty much it when it comes to scoring. So I do think it's a big deal in terms of this team overall needing to have more players around SGA, but it still could be a good series because that defense is there.
Instagram users rejoiced over the weekend as you could see the northern lights from almost anywhere in the United States. Did you go out and look at them?
No.
Did you go out and look at them?
Didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, to be honest,
either.
I didn't know this was going on until I started seeing tweets like this.
I saw a bunch of pictures of like that happening, so I was like, okay. So I went outside and looked, and like I couldn't even tell what was happening.
Honestly, I haven't been sleeping much, and so I probably just looked at the sky and was like, oh, that looks pretty. I probably just thought it was a sunset.
Just a normal sunset, yeah.
I was like, damn, that's a cool sunset.
I mean, I've always wanted to see them, but like that didn't do it for me at all.
It's pretty. It's cool.
Sure, it looks nice.
No deal.
Speaking of speaking of things that look nice, Jeff Ulrich is going to be joining the show in just a second. Him and Claudia are going to talk some NHL best bets coming up here on The Sweat. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the Sweat. We haven't really given a lot of love to hockey. We're going to do that here on this next segment. I'm going to listen while Claudia gives her analysis on some hockey, and our most handsome Canadian friend, Jeff Ulrich, as well. Let's see how he looks today. Oh, he looks great today. You look great in blue. You got the hat on. Looking good, man.
The compliments are
Thanks,
flowing.
Steve. I appreciate you giving some love to the most important sport of the year at this point.
What time is it where you are, by the
Hockey.
way? What time is it where you are?
Pretty early.
Okay.
Not gonna lie. Pretty early.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. All right, let's talk some reactions to what we saw yesterday, Jeff. Hurricanes were able to stave off elimination, their 4-3 win over the Rangers, handing the Rangers their first loss of this postseason thus far. I mean, was it like a gimme game? Like, yeah, sure, we'll give you one, and then we'll just annihilate you the next game.
I know. I mean, look, this series has been so weird because, I mean, Carolina's absolutely just torched them in terms of shots on goal the last 3 games. So it's been very one-sided, but then, obviously they break through in game 4, finally get the win. But again, it was another close game. I mean, the Rangers tied it after coming back from behind again. So I'm not really sure that when you look at this line, to me, the game 5 line just does not make sense with the Rangers underdogs at home. It's going to be pretty hard not to take that as a bet. I mean, you've got obviously Shesterkin playing out of his mind. You've got the Rangers who've clawed back from multiple deficits already. So this line already on DraftKings, it looks very suspect. You're going to have to see where it actually ends up at. But certainly, with New York going back to New York, I think it's going to be extremely tough for Carolina to grab another game, even though they are kind of outplaying the Rangers. They just can't really beat Shesterkin, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to beat him 2 games in a row.
Yeah, Claudia, minus 102 for the Rangers right now, currently on DraftKings.
Yeah, I agree. Cheap price. I'm assuming they're just baking in the fact that Shesterkin, his head is going to fall off because he's standing on it. You mentioned those shots. He saw 57 in game 1, saved 54 of them, 47 game 3, 31 in game 4. They haven't put out the goalie prop market yet because I know they're too scared to. They don't know where to put it because you really can't put it too high. Everyone's going to bet the under. But, man, he's been crazy. And I'm assuming that the books just think those shots are going to fall eventually. But I have to agree with him. I do like the Rangers. Even if they do go down 1 early, I'd grab them even better at a plus money price.
All right, Claudia, Stars had a convincing win over the Avs at 4-1 the other day. Takes a 2-1 series lead. But when you look at the line here for tomorrow, Stars are the underdogs in this one on the road. Avalanche are minus 135 at home as the favorites here. What are your thoughts here for this next one?
Yeah, man, give me that plus money. It's all about the goalies. Jake Ottinger has been huge for them. Colorado's offense just can't get it done. The opportunities have been there, 3 power plays for them in that first period. They just couldn't capitalize. And the good part, too, we just talked about the shot disparity in the other game. Dallas can win with 10 less shots. It's just higher quality, high danger shots. So I like the goalie matchup a lot better on Dallas's side, and I think the offense is beneficent.
What do you think, Jeff?
Probably lean the other side here with Colorado. I mean, again, Dallas is a tricky team to figure out. They do get outshot. I think it's a really good point that they are far more capable of winning on fewer shots. But at the same time, I don't know how many times you want to give the Colorado Avalanche 10 more shots, 10 more chances necessarily. This team will break out eventually. And Ottinger, he has had his moments in the playoff series, but he's been a little bit up and down. Colorado Avalanche have been the best home team during the regular season as well. So the number is, again, it's pretty much stuck there. I would be more prone if you're going to take Colorado in game 4, looking at the regulation line, probably at plus 110, or even going to the puck line where it's plus 180, actually. I think if Colorado wins, they probably break through and they potentially win by multiple goals. We saw it a couple times against the Jets. So I'd be looking towards the Avalanche puck line plus 180 or looking to the regulation line at plus 110.
All right, let's talk about what's on tap here for today. We're starting off with a banger here with the Panthers and the Bruins going against each other here. They won, convincingly in that last one there by a score of 6-2. And taking advantage, Jeff, of a struggling team for the Bruins that just can't kill off these penalties all of a sudden. After killing off 27 of 28 in the postseason, they have now scored on 5 of their last 7 opportunities in this series. And then the big one here, if Brad Marchand is going to play or not, questionable with that upper body injury, taking a late hit there. What are your thoughts on this one? This feels like the series is kind of changing tides here.
Definitely changing tides. And, again, on that Marchand fact, like he's one of their better penalty killers. I mean, he's turned into like the special teams guy, just mainly on the penalty kills. So you're losing one of those, a top penalty killer. I just think it's going to be extremely tough for Boston to bounce back here. Swayman was playing out of his mind. Now it's 2 games in a row. Are they even going to start him in game 4? Right. Not sure if that has been confirmed at all. I don't think so. So, we could see a goalie change, which is, who knows what's going to happen there. Florida, to me, has proven to be just a very tough team to keep down in the playoffs. Tampa Bay threw their best game at them in game 4, and they still barely beat them. Obviously, the Bruins caught them off guard in game 1, but I'd be looking to Florida here again. I think this game could be potentially higher scoring as well. So the over has a little bit of appeal, but I would honestly just go back to playing Florida, even at minus 155. They were minus 180 in the first couple home games. I just don't think that home ice advantage is that big in the playoffs. And the one thing I do like with Florida too, you can always get a lot of their top wingers at pretty decent prices for anytime goal props. Carter Verhaeghe has just been very, very solid for them since coming back from injury. Plus 145, still a pretty decent price. Even going down, like Sam Bennett, overdue in my opinion, plus 300. So be looking probably to Florida potentially in the prop department. I think they are going to take this series pretty quickly, just the way it's going. I think that, again, like if Boston does come back, it'll probably be some kind of Pasternak big game. So you could look to him in the anytime goal market as well, but I'd really just be leaning towards Florida in terms of goals.
Jeff, real quick, I'm sorry to cut you off. Real quick, Jeff, do you have any thoughts on if it's not Swayman, if you would like one side more than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost feel more inclined to go with Florida if it's Allmark. I just feel like coming in cold against a team like Florida is just going to be too tough. But with goalies, it really can lean either way. I mean, sometimes it frustrates the other team to see another goalie. Kind of worked for the Hurricanes for a little bit in game 3. But again, it's still, they didn't win that game when they switched goalies. So I feel like something similar could work out with Boston where Allmark could play well. The Panthers eventually just win anyways.
Same question. Do you feel more, if it's Swayman or not?
For me, I don't think it even comes down to so much who's in between the pipes. It's more just the defense isn't helping him. Swayman's seen 275 shots so far, and a lot of them high danger chances. I agree. Allmark's cold, so it's not ideal. And he mentioned that total 5.5, Jeff, at even money. I am tempted to go over. I think either way, because Sway, whether it is him or he's not getting help, the shots have been there. So I think it's probably an over game for me. You talked about the value on the Florida side of things. For the Bruins, DeBrusk point, especially with Marchand out at plus 114, it's sort of the next man up mentality. I like the plus money. He's coming off of a 2-point game, second most points behind Marchand in this postseason. And he's just sort of not been mentioned or noticed. Like even Montgomery in the post said, our 2 best players are Swayman and Pasta. I was like, what about DeBrusk, man? He's sort of contributing. He's been pretty big to keeping this game into what it has been, which they weren't in it very much. It's a scrappy series. I thought it'd be a little bit closer than this. Lots of up and down. So tough going for the Bruins. I do like Florida, and I think the over is probably the best play there.
All right, last game we have on here tonight, starting at 9:40 Eastern. We got the Canucks in Edmonton against the Oilers. Series is tied up 1-1 in this one, Claudia, but Oilers are the biggest favorite on the board here, minus 205 on the money line. Which side are you leaning for this one?
Yeah, and Jeff, Oilers fan, right? I'm not gonna spew any hate that way for
correct.
Sure.
That's correct. Watch what you say.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, I mean, I just think at that price, the Canucks are a live dog, and how this played out in the regular season with the Oilers losing all 4. Clearly, they made some adjustments to look much better in this postseason, but. For me, it's just a price thing. I look at the Canucks. If this money comes down, Oilers fall behind early, and that juice comes down from where it is at minus 205 north of that. That's probably the bet I would jump at.
Jeff, what are you thinking here? And then I was just curious what the point prop for Connor McDavid is. 1.5 minus 166 to the over on that.
Gross. It's pretty gross. It's probably going to hit it though. Look, if you do it's funny you bring up Connor McDavid because what Claudia said is correct. Like the Oilers are 205 favorites with Stuart Skinner in net. That's insane, obviously. Right. So some of the goals he gives up. So it's pretty tough just to go to the Oilers. I think if you are looking at the Oilers, going with over McDavid points, the Oilers to win or something, some sort of same game parlay here where they just put up 6 goals and they just, win 6-4 again. I think that's probably how this game is going to go. Give me the over in this game. You've got Silvas, the third string goalie, who, I mean, again, hasn't really looked very good. I know he's doing well for his, considering a guy who hasn't played much, and then Skinner on the other side. I think that the Oilers have a chance to put up 6 or 7 here. The Canucks probably will put up 3 or 4 themselves just because Skinner. So give me the over here. And again, like if you're looking at the straight money line, I just think the Oilers are too short to play on their own, but certainly you could look to them on the puck line or something too, but wouldn't put anyone off taking the Canucks as a dog. They're very much live in this game, to steal another one for sure.
Jeff, as always, we appreciate you coming all the way from Canada, looking handsome. We appreciate you. Claudia, of course, thank you for your insight on hockey. When we come back, the man who grills the worst chicken in America, Brendan Glasheen, is going to join us once again, talk some more WNBA. We'll be right back.
So nice, we're doing it twice. Back here on The Sweat with Brendan Glasheen, the voice of the Connecticut Sun. Ladies and gentlemen, we did the Eastern Conference previewing the WNBA season earlier in this show. Now we will preview the Western Conference because the season tips Tuesday. Just your feelings inside you right now. I can tell you're excited because your palms are sweaty.
Knees are a little weak too.
Yeah, that's right. Stay away from Mons Pasquetti.
No, it's exciting. Like I'm more so just curious how it's all going to look.
Yeah.
Like, it's unlike any other year. It's my 4th year doing games in the league, and for the Sun, this has never had this kind of lead up to it.
Right.
And the bridge from the college season, you had the draft mid-April, and how it's all going to translate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games on national TV to open up the season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think the WNBA, too, has really done a great job carrying that momentum over from the highest historical ratings in women's college basketball and carrying that momentum over. So, like, shout out to the league for that. But you know what? Caitlin Clark and all these new kids coming in, there's a beast out west that is going to be tough to take down, and that would be the Las Vegas Aces. What prevents this stacked team that is freaking even money to three-peat from actually completing that quest?
It's fascinating because I think when New York made their moves last year, everyone thought it was 1A, 1B.
Oh, yeah.
And the odds, that reflects that, wait a minute, we may have mispriced that team last year.
Just a wee bit.
They're still ahead of the pack because that core, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, they've been together since the franchise wasn't even in Vegas. They were in San Antonio.
They returned their entire 2023 playoff
The whole
roster.
team's back. And Chelsea Gray's a huge impact, and she got hurt in the finals last year, and they still won in spite of that. Alicia Clark coming off the bench, 6th woman of the year. Health, and if they sleepwalk early. If they just start, because that's what happened. We watch dynastic runs in any pro sport. Okay, we've won 2 in a row. We just got to be playing our best basketball at the end of the year. And that would be the only way if they don't get home court advantage.
Yeah.
They might have some slip-ups early in the year if they want to manage their players to be ready at the end of the year because they did have some injuries in those finals last year. That would be it. They're the most talented team, the most connected team. Becky Hammond's an elite coach. They all buy into Becky.
I was just going to say, and you broke it down, we talked Liberty in the previous segment, but like the Liberty might have the star power to match Las Vegas, but Las Vegas has Becky Hammond, and she has just proven to be the difference for them.
No question. Becky, they all respect Becky because she's a former player in the league and won at the highest level.
I like her as an analyst, too. She doesn't steer away from hot takes, but she brings, like, numbers to back up what may originally sound like a hot, ridiculous take. And it's like, oh, wait, no, she's right.
Yeah, Becky was good. And Stephanie White, Connecticut's coach, was doing games this year for the NBA, college basketball, and ESPN. So they were both very, very good. It's health. Health would be the only thing that gets in their way, and any sort of they haven't had the problem of being unselfish, and it's someone's night, any given night, from an unselfish team. So I don't see what gets in their way to come out of the West and be in at least at the very least be in the finals.
No WNBA team has three-peated since the Houston Comets won the league's first 4 titles. That was from 97 to 2000. So a lot of people believe that will change this summer. You know, something else that will change this summer is we're not going to see Candace Parker on the floor anymore. Just retired. What's her legacy in the W here, Glash? Because I feel like it extends well beyond the basketball court.
Candace Parker was an all-timer in college at Tennessee.
Yeah.
She could dunk the ball. Current players idolize her.
That blew people's minds, too, by the way, when she started dunking.
Yeah. Getting on the fast break and then throwing it down. Like, she paved the way for the current league stars as someone who can ink a shoe deal, to be a broadcaster in the offseason. She's been the big sister for a lot of these current players. But just do it. She won wherever she went. She won in Vegas despite the injury last year, won in Chicago, her hometown, won in Los Angeles as a young up-and-coming star, can dribble as a power forward, can knock down the outside shot, can be an impact post player. Really the first do-it-all at an elite level at multiple spots on the court. And she's just, I think she's most people speak very fondly of her in all aspects, whether it be basketball, off the court, television. She's now going to be working for Adidas now at a pretty high level.
Oh, my God, she's thriving in retirement already. She's the president of women's basketball at Adidas. Yeah, I'd leave professional basketball for that title as well.
Yeah, so I think she wanted to give it another try, but the foot injury just was too much to overcome. And I'm curious how she thinks now with the chartered flights. Like, oh, that would have been nice to have going back now the last 10 years. But a champion wherever she went, a scorer, playmaker, defensive star, And that I think that's the biggest compliment is the current players. First player they think of when they come to someone they admire is Candace Parker.
Yeah, I like the Candace Parker is likely your current player's favorite player.
Yes.
And Diana Taurasi is in that conversation for a lot of people as well. The number one pick in 2004 here, Glash, had a stern message for this year's number one pick, Caitlin Clark and other rookies, saying reality is coming. I love this kind of trash talk, and I think it's great for the league right now. What do you think?
I think it's important for the league to take that next step in growth.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark doesn't need protecting.
Yeah.
She's confident in her own skin. We saw what happened a couple years ago in the women's Final Four with the Angel Reese back and forth. The internet loses their minds. Caitlin Clark never lost her mind.
Great content.
There was a dust-up with a reporter in Indiana recently with Caitlin Clark.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. That guy was a weirdo.
It was weird, but he
got suspended. Can't even cover the team in person
the
anymore.
source, Caitlin Clark handled it like a pro. They've had mics in front of their faces now the last 2 years at the biggest stage. And Taurasi is combative like that. Her and Sue Bird did that alternate telecast. I think it's good. I think it's great too because Diana's won at the highest level. Played at UConn. There's a little UConn thing there. There's other teams now.
They
in
don't
college
forget
basketball.
those rivalries, man.
Sure. So the Huskies aren't just it's them and everybody else. I think the rest of the college basketball landscape is caught up.
In terms of Diana's Mercury, though, they finished dead last in the season last year. Dead last in the league last season. They didn't even hit double-digit wins here, Glash. So how likely is it that Phoenix kind of turns it around this year? We know owner Matt Ishbia has been all in for the Suns. Can he help the Mercury turn it around? Have they been making moves?
They have. I mean, look, Brittany Griner coming back last year. That was it was just a clunky year because then it felt like, is she fully back yet? And that leads into a whole other discussion. But then they added the new state-of-the-art practice facility, which was attractive to go get free agents. And they got Kalia Copper from Chicago and Natasha Cloud from Washington. Both won championships with their respective former franchises.
Yep.
They are going to take the load off of Taurasi as a scorer. Okay. And Diana Taurasi's 41 years old.
Yeah, I know.
And she can still get it done. She's in elite shape. That's why
it's so weird when I just said 2004 first overall pick, talking smack to the 2024 first overall pick. I'm like, oh my God, you got generations here playing on the court together.
Yeah, I think Phoenix is a sleeper, though. They're going to be very good, and they don't bottom out like they did last year. Okay. But having those two pieces, watch out for Natasha Cloud, Kalia Copper, both champions, finals MVP, Kalia Copper. They're good.
Fans in Dallas are absolutely stoked for the season ahead. Yeah. So the Wings sold out their preseason game and their upcoming opener here, dude. The Wings achieved their goal of getting out of the first round of the playoffs last year. Now this season, the goal is to make the WNBA Finals. What chance are you giving them to actually make it there?
So they were a handful last year against Las Vegas. They gave Connecticut fits because of their size inside. Arike Agumbawale, national champion at Notre Dame, developing and evolving as a playmaker. Led the league in assists, or led her team in assists last year at just over 4.5 a game. That was a new career best for her.
I think her brother played for the Jaguars.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
In Tampa Bay.
Arike has understood that it doesn't have to be me scoring 30 a night for our team to win. Satu Sabali, lefty, post player, stretch the floor, wing, very versatile, taking the next step, just scratching the surface. And then you have Natasha Howard and Tierra McCowan. They brought, similar to what you mentioned with Vegas, they brought back their whole team. Okay. And continuity matters, I think we're finding out at the pro level, just teams that win the NBA. It's more trying to put these pieces together and make it all work. And, hey, let's win in 2 years. Dallas has taken the long-term approach. They've got some young, promising draft picks going into year 2. So they put it all together in a series down in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough out.
They've had first-round draft picks galore over the past 4 years.
And
Think like 3 first-rounders in 3 of the last 4 years or something like that. Yeah. Producer Drew had a note in here, and only 4 of those players remain on the team.
Yeah.
Give me another team to look out for this season we haven't talked about.
So as I say that about the continuity of Dallas, Seattle brings in, they had Jewel Lloyd. You add Skylar Diggins-Smith, who was an all-star in Phoenix, a champion. And then you add Nneka Ogwumike, who is an MVP and won at a high level in Los Angeles. Like Phoenix, they're going to try and bring in some talented veterans that have had experience in long playoff runs and piece it together with some of their younger players and go on a run. That's a formidable big 3. Jewel Lloyd, the gold mamba, she wears the 24 like Kobe Bryant. She can do it. She led the league in scoring last year. She's that good and can get it done on both ends of the floor. So if Seattle gets it together by the end of the year, they're scary.
Okay.
They're really scary.
We got about 45 seconds to go here. Who wins the West, and why is it Las Vegas?
It's hard to count them out.
Yeah.
It really is. They felt like they won a championship 2 years ago, and then going into last year's playoffs, like people were thinking like, oh, they're not playing at an elite level. They lost a couple of their players. Like Asia Wilson got a 4th place MVP vote, and no one knows who did that. Like they're still coming in with like this juice, this motivation. As you said, no one's three-peated in decades, so they've got that kind of history lining up right now.
The Aces and Sun in the finals. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you call some of those games. Thanks for being here, Glass.
Hey, that was fun.
We love you.
Thanks for having me.
Mean it. It is Mother's Day, by the way, so don't forget to call your mom.
Happy birthday, Kev.
Got
happy birthday. Happy Mother's Day, Kev.
Good Lord, man. Never change. Never change. We got a special Mother's Day edition of The Cool Down coming up next.
Welcome back to the Sweat final block here. We've made it through just about 2 hours here. After this, go see your mother. Go tell her you love her and all that good stuff. But you spent 2 hours with us. We appreciate you. What did you guys miss? If you haven't seen the whole show here, this is what we've gone over all throughout the show here. We just finished with Brenda Glasheen talking about the WNBA season preview. Julian and Claudia gave out some best bets for NBA. We gave out some best bets for MLB today. How do you catch up? Go to youtube.com/DraftKings, any part of the show. Maybe you just want to see how bad Brenda Glasheen's chicken looks. That was also on there as well. So everything on YouTube, youtube.com/DraftKings. Look up the Sweat for today's date. You can catch up on anything that you missed. Before we start here, Julian, Glasheen was just talking about the WNBA in full. He obviously is affiliated with the Sun. You have a play for the Sun.
All right. Well, it brings me great joy to give out essentially a Brendan Glasheen fade in a bet form. It's rare that we can do this. So I will go to the voice of the Connecticut Sun and say, I do think that team has taken a step back this year. They were fantastic last year, probably overachieved. Alyssa Thomas was firmly in the MVP conversation as Glash was pushing all last year. CT Sun, under 24.5 wins. Wow. It's a 40-game season. I don't think they are getting to 25 and 15. I think they're going to regress a bit. Lost a little bit of talent, not a ton, but a little bit. And, there's some tough teams out there. A lot of other teams got better. So I don't see them getting there. So that I'm not just completely crushing Glash on this segment, I do agree with what he said about the Seattle Storm. That is a team that I like this upcoming season out west. They have a ton of talent that they added around Jewel Lloyd to potentially get that together. So Seattle Storm over 23.5. Sounded like something from what Glash said. He thinks that team is trending in the right direction, and that is a team that I think is trending in the right direction. So there's 2 WNBA win total plays.
Now, assuming that he's not watching this right now, has he been informed of your opinions?
I actually haven't let him know yet. Maybe our awesome team will clip this up, and I'll just send that to him.
Okay. Yeah, but I would also love to hear his rebuttal. If that's the case.
Well, it's a little follow, little fade. So I feel like it's a nice even.
Well, no, but I'm fading his team. That's the specific part that we want to hit on.
That's the big caveat of all this.
Glash thinks Seattle's going to look good out west, but this is the voice of the Connecticut Sun here we're talking about.
Okay, so moving on from that.
Definitely fade his chicken.
100%. Minus 10,000, fade the chicken. That would be my play when it comes to Glash. Great guy, though. He's a good guy. Okay. You and I are obviously men. You and I probably, just in case we weren't sure. But I think that it's fair to say that men like to procrastinate and put things off to the last minute. So maybe you're sitting here, you woke up this morning, you tuned into the Sweat, and you go, it's Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. I did nothing for my mother, who took care of me for all of those years. So how can we thank her in a quick manner? Maybe we can give her some winning bets to take this afternoon. Go, you know what, Mom? I didn't get you anything, but I'm gonna win you some money instead. So Claudia, what would be a bet that you would give your mother to take and win some money today?
On top of a bet, hand her money, like Julian said.
Or Venmo.
Also buy her flowers, do all of the above. But in addition to that, Jeff and I talked about this game in Edmonton, now in Edmonton against Vancouver. I would just say look to live bet. I think there's a ton of value throughout the series. Ahead of the game, the Canucks are certainly a live dog at plus 170. Oilers laying north of 200 is just way too juicy for me. Like I said, they lost all 4 to Vancouver in the regular season, outscored 21-7 in that. But the swings in the series have been huge. Game 1, Oilers lose a 3-goal lead. Then Game 2, come back from a 3-1 goal deficit. The power play is lethal. They have so much talent on offense, but Stuart Skinner is a liability. So I would look to the live lines for plus money throughout this game.
Now, thankfully for your mother, your Friday plays do not fall on Mother's Day.
Perfect.
Because you would put your mother into poverty if that was the case.
Correct.
So, we have a clean slate here. What are you going to give your mother to make some money?
I mean, if we flip it, unfortunately, that Celtics-Cavs Game 3 is not today, when I would actually have some confidence in a money-making gift. I like the Knicks getting 5.5 in the NBA. I don't love anything today. I like the Knicks getting 5.5 in the NBA. I think they stick around in that game. I like a couple of baseball plays, actually.
Okay.
Nice.
One of them
that
you guys firmly hit on, and I'm just attacking the first 5 route. Twins, Over 2.5 runs team total, first 5. That's plus 110. Just narrowing the game down to focus on Alek Manoah, giving up some runs as he generally does. And then a little bit juicier, but Phillies first 5. It's Zach Wheeler going up against the Marlins. Phillies have been a first 5 machine. Wheeler's been a first 5 machine. You're getting up to that just went from minus 145 to minus 150, laying the half run in the first 5. But that has been a great trend, and I think well worth laying a little bit on.
And not only that, I mean, you talk about how good Wheeler has been. Wheeler, I believe, is the leading candidate for the NL Cy Young right now. He has just been pitching so incredibly well. But if you're talking about that first 5 innings run line, the Phillies have been the best team on that first 5 run line, 28-12 coming in today. If you took that all throughout the year, it'd be up almost 14 units at this point. Like, they have just been an absolute wagon on that. And then on the other end there, if you're looking for the Miami Marlins, they're 16-25 on the first 5 run line. That is one of the worst in the league, aside from the San Francisco Giants, so good play to take a look at there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the return on investment. When it comes to percentage, the Phillies, almost 27%. The next closest team is the Brewers at 13.
Yeah.
And then the Marlins are minus 23.9, so we're almost minus 24%. So trend's not predictive, but that is saying something.
Sure. No, without a doubt. I'm with you here. Like, I think the Twins, I don't mind taking the first, not the first 5, the full game team total for the Twins, which we talked about at 4.5. Claudia pointed this out earlier too as well. Even if somehow Manoah gets through this fairly unscathed, the Toronto bullpen has just been absolutely abysmal. I think over the last week or so, I was looking it up, I saw this yesterday, so don't hold me to the number here, but their ERA over the past week was above 7. They've just been absolutely getting crushed for the relievers in the bullpen too as well. That whole team has really just been struggling. I'm actually, if it wasn't for the Astros being as bad as they were, I think the bigger story would be how much the Blue Jays have been struggling so far this season, because obviously the American League East is very tight overall. We expected a lot of teams to be in contention, but that was not one of the teams that we were expecting to be near the bottom of that division there. So a little bit of a shock there for the Blue Jays, but again, thinking that the Twins continue to roll here today going up against Alek Manoah. Is there anything you guys wanted? Did you have something else?
I was going to say another play I did like too, and just again, I understand if you're cautious to touch on the Mackenzie Gore K prop at 6.5. If it's still at even money though, like I said, grab that because it is getting north of minus 120 at other shops. I know he hasn't hit it consistently, but Boston is striking out at everything. They are swinging and missing highest rate against lefties. So I do like that number if you can still find it. He's done it in much lesser innings. So if you're worried about the depth, like I said, he's coming off getting 4 and just 3 against Toronto, 7 against Texas, and 5. So he's been really efficient in the time he's been out there.
Julian, anything else that you didn't get to you want to hit on, or you clean?
Those are the 3 for me today. Knicks, Twins, Phillies.
Okay, so we talked about this. We kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier during that deal or no deal segment, is that there was a lot of talk about Drake May's pockets.
Yep.
And when we saw him walking in, we have a clip here if you want to take a look.
Yeah, this is.
So here's Drake May walking into, first practice here, and the man just has like so many things in his pockets. Like, I don't know if he's got like bags of those new Nerds candies, like the little ones that are the circular ones. Those are delicious, by the way.
Is that what that is?
Maybe. But like, is this like serial killer mentality? Like, what would possess anybody to have that many things in their pocket?
He needs cargo pants, first of all, because then you have
Yeah,
pockets.
but then everybody's going to be on him for wearing cargo pants.
Obviously,
so you can't win.
see if it's a joke. It's a joke.
I don't know. Hey, I'm not a fashion guru. Maybe cargo pants are in. I had no idea.
He loves
Cargo pants are in, but he doesn't seem like the cargo pant, like, cool way. There's 2 types of ways to wear cargos. Cool guys, like the baggy, whatever, you can make it fashionable, and then others are just Kirk Cousins wearing cargos. Anyways, he has a backpack though, which is confusing.
That is very concerning.
What's the stuff in the backpack? I don't get it. It's like when you leave the house and I gotta grab these quick things, and then eventually you put it in your bag, but he just left it in his pocket.
Yeah, that was gonna be my only take. Is it's just an easy fix. You just put it all in your backpack. All you need is in your pocket is your phone, keys, wallet, right?
Like, there's no way that that's comfortable either.
No.
Like, all that stuff in
it's
your pocket.
shaking around, like
Right.
bouncing off his legs.
Like, I have jeans. I wear jeans. Like, I hate having just my wallet and keys and phone in my pocket.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That's too much for me. This guy is carrying like 10-pound weights in his pockets.
Did we ever find out what it was? He never.
I don't know.
Somebody will ask him.
I can't say
the
that.
left side, it looks like he literally stuffed a T-shirt in there. Like, I don't.
Right, like he's got like like Sour Patch Kids in there or something, like a family-sized bag.
always
What is
candy
the
with
Sour Patch Kids? What? How is that Sour Patch Kids?
Do you know how big those bags are?
No, I guess
I know you like eating healthy and everything, but like
Right, but Sour Patch Kids, aren't they small? Why is it a big
bag, a
I'm thinking of
family-sized
that.
bag?
He's thinking of like
Okay.
going to Stop and Shop and getting like a family-sized bag
Can't
of
say
candy. I don't know.
Couldn't be me. Just never seen it, so.
Next time you're on the show, we're gonna share one on the
I'm
show. We're gonna put it right here like an
Maybe
ad
it's all the
placement.
maybe it's all the money he made watching the Sweat yesterday.
That could be
Hey.
true. That was a nice little plug. We're going to make you money every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m., 10 a.m. Claudia, thank you for joining us here over the weekend. We unfortunately have Emerson back next week, I think, so it's going to get all weird and everything, but we love him. This has been The Sweat. For Claudia, for Julian, I'm Steve. We'll see you next week.